Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw tips and tricks. Somebody sent me this file of a clock from Alice in Wonderland, and they actually sent me some other files that they bought. And this just isn't going to work because they're individual pieces. It's not made. You could engrave this, but to make a clock out of it, I don't think it's really going to work. I would use this clock. Everything's fine. There's a few things I would change. I'm critiquing, and I'm a little picky. But this chain right here isn't touching the clock. We're going to make it stronger. So we're going to take our shape tool, and it'd be nice to, let's shift select these 4 nodes. Well, tell you what, I'm going to select all of them. And then deselect with the shift tool these 2. And then I just have these 4, and I'm going to move them down. Now I am elongating, then I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool and cut through there. And what that did, that made it one piece. It's going to make it a lot stronger. I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool and I'm going to make a new shape. And then I'm going to move that new shape down to here and get it in the middle. I'm going to left click, right click. You want to make sure you're using red and make sure it's a hairline for cutting. And then just do the same thing for this other. Now these other chains are intentionally meant not to be reached all the way down. And I'm just going to take, so the Smart Fill tool made a new shape. I'm actually holding down the control button and it's kind of going to make it even. I didn't really go far enough. But then I would just left click, right click. Now, after I've got it all done and I've got everything fixed, I'm a big believer in using Smart Fill kind of to seal it up. So it's 17 inches. I'm going to set my nudge factor on 18. I'm going to take the Smart Fill tool and I'm going to fill this in, and then I'm going to move it over. That's your clock. Everything that's black could be either engraved or cut out. We're going to go ahead and take this and left click, right click, make sure it's a hairline. We'll just get rid of that and see the parts I added aren't connected, but now they are. Now these other pieces of the chain are really going to be fragile, but it's going to be cool. So what we're going to do, we want to make a shape of that. You can see my boundary tools aren't open or aren't available. I can go to object shaping and use the boundary tool, and now I have a boundary. So this is going to be your back of your clock. I could have broken the curve apart and done the same thing, but I also want that hole. So I'm going to take that hole and I'm going to move it over there and I'm going to left click, right click. So there's your 2 parts of your clock. And if we take the Smart Fill tool, so it will save that hole, when we left click, right click, we don't have to worry about if we delete this, the hole won't be deleted. But now we can move this back and the hole will move with it because of the fact that we did that. Now let's make that clock, the backing of it, like not a very good color of plywood. That's kind of the color of plywood. Cut that out. And then use your Smart Fill tool on whatever color, Alice in Wonderland, I don't know what, maybe a light violet. Fill that in, move it over. That's what your clock's going to look like. It's going to be 2 layers. You almost have to do that to make it strong. But what I would do to make it strong, you're going to cut, there's going to be pieces that you're going to cut out. And you need to put those back. So when you cut this out, you're going to have like this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. This is kind of large, so it's all one piece. You just need to be careful, like you could do that piece. And then tape that all together and then sand it. And then that way it will keep those chains from breaking. Now, the other thing I would do, if you do 2 layers of plywood, we're at 1/4 of an inch. So you got to make sure your hole's the right size. 2, you got to make sure the stem of your clock will fit through there. But then what I'd also do is I would take this and let's make a duplicate of it. And I would left click, right click. But now I'm going to go to effects and contour. I'm going to contour 0.25 of an inch to the inside with rounded corners. Maybe even a 1/2 inch. Let's do 0.4 to the inside. Now the hole really doesn't matter. Well, we're going to change that here in just a second. But break the contour part. And this is going to be your, I would use 1/4 inch MDF to make this backing. Because if you put 2 layers of plywood, that's still only a 1/4 inch. So this would be a 1/2 inch thick. But we need to make space for our clock part. So the clock part's going to be hidden. Normal clock parts, I'm just kind of guessing. Let's say they're 2.5 inches square. I would actually round off the corners a little bit by doing this, just to give it a rounded corner. And you would only do this if your stem won't fit. And if you go right here, we're going to go snap to that. Well, I'm going to have to zoom in. I'm going to snap to that center. Well, it's not going to happen. Let's do this. Let's go to Object, break the curve apart, and that'll get that circle by itself. And then we can grab this shape, kind of come in, and it'll snap right to the center. I would delete this hole, and cut the, and so if your stem will fit through all 3 pieces, the two plywoods and this, you don't have to do this. But if your stem is only going to stick through the other 2 pieces, this is going to be your backing. And what it's going to do, it's going to, one, make it stronger to put, hang it to the wall. So let's say this is the MDF. Let's just call it that color. And what's going to happen, let me move that out of the way. This is your plywood, and you can see your plywood is going to extend past your MDF, so the MDF will not be seen. So all you're going to see is 2 layers of plywood. And then you're going to take your, let's say you paint it yellow, and then move that over. Well, that's going to be a good example, but we're going to go to Object, Order, Front of Page. That's what your clock's going to look like. I shouldn't have used yellow. That was a bad choice. Let's use green. And see, all the yellow part will be the plywood, but it'll be three layers thick. That's really a pretty nice clock. But just a word of warning, check your hole size of your stem to your clock and make sure you've got hands, because this thing is, the hands need to be about that to there. So that's only 4.38 inches. So make sure you've got hands that you can cut off, and that should work. Anyway, I hope that helped them a little bit. Thank you for watching.